About 3 years ago, a buddy of mine in the pulp and paper industry talked me into speaking for about 10 minutes at the Western Pulp and Paper Safety Conference. And Lena Wang was in the audience and saw me and suggested me to Xenophon.
I don't know if you guys know anything about lumber mills, but they're pretty notorious for having a high turnover rate. 3 people will start on Monday, one's going to quit at lunch, one's going to quit Wednesday, and one's going to quit Friday when he gets his paycheck. And I was the only kid starting that day, so they weren't holding out a lot of hope for me. I got a tour and what a board looked like, and I was qualified to pull lumber, drive a forklift, run a chainsaw, clean up around machinery. I did that all in my first week.
You come into some classes and it's silent. They can't really believe it actually happens. And other classes, they really cue in on it and they ask you a lot of questions. They really realize it can happen to them and how you deal with it and how you make sure it never happens to you.
I got to watch as I lost my balance just for that second, my shirt sleeve flutter up and go into the bite. And I got to watch as it started to wrap around the chain and sprocket. And by that time, you're just along for the ride. I braced myself against the base of the motor. I pulled back as hard as I could, and I couldn't rip a shirt. You start wrapping clothing around machinery, anything moving, it gets really strong. It's like rope. You're not going to win. And I got to sit there and I got to watch as that sprocket started to dig through my arm and go through all the skin, and all the muscles in my arm literally started exploding. And I got earplugs in, and I got a vibrating conveyor next to me, and I still got an edger running, and I can still hear all the bones in my arm shatter. Your senses get heightened. I mean, you can hear it all, you can see it all, you can smell it all. A mixture of blood and iron and oil. It's a hard smell to describe. It's horrible. It's one I'll never forget. Hopefully nobody ever has to smell that.
Something that happens when you're a young worker, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, it's going to affect you when you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. So think about when you're doing, not in a short-term tense, as in for the rest of your life, because that's how long it's going to be with you.